W7MS. Anybody else?
Taking 6 on G.
I'll take it in.
K6FEW. Okay. Well, Jeff, after all the work you did today, KK6IRZ, you're in here, and K6FEW. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good start here tonight. Tonight I'm running the Drake Twins, the R4C receiver, and the T4XC transmitter, going through a column 30L1 up to my inverted V. So that's the story here. And let me check again for any check-ins that come out. Did I hear you at KG6UTS? Very weak, but did I copy you over? Did anyone else copy it? I guess I didn't. Okay. Well, very good. Let's maybe go through a few here and say good evening and howdy. And Jay, well, Jay, why don't we start with you? Maybe you can give us a preview of tonight, NY6L. Then turn over to Ron, K2RP. Then WB6RLC. And then to N6WHK. Go ahead, Jay.
Okay, well, good evening to all. NY6L on the vintage sideband early check-ins. I guess last minute there. I'll be your host tonight. Hopefully the alligators won't come and bite me. Running a little bit of power here tonight, so hopefully this station's heard. And the voice a little bit gravelly, but doing on the mend here, so I'm doing real good. So I'll have to think of a question tonight. I think I might come up with one. With that, over to you there, Ron, K2RP, NY6L Hesperia.
Okay, very good to hear you. Glad you're taking a turn running the net. I think you'll be very good at it. And I'll be listening for your question. John and Encinitas is north of San Diego. We're running a W12 heat kit. I haven't had it on the air for a long time. And it came right up, and I hope it sounds okay. I appreciate a couple of audio reports. The microphone's a 10G, and the antenna's a G5RB. Out to the desert, WB6 RLC, K2RP.
Alrighty, K2RP in the group, WB6 RLC. Well, Ron, you sound exactly like Ron. So, your audio sounds good. It doesn't sound overdriven or any distortion offhand. You just sound like Ron. Anyway, Glenn here out in Cathedral City. A gorgeous day today. High 80s. It's another gorgeous day in paradise here. Running the NCX5 today. And, it's been a good day's work in at the Air Museum. So all we did is clean our shop, hauled everything out and cleaned and ran that Zamboni around on the concrete and put everything back. So we got a nice clean shop to start in for next week, or later this week. But anyway, so that's really about it. Just enjoying everything. Let's see, goes over to the next one here. N6WHK, I think. WB6RLC in the group.
W6YC.
N6AF.
WB6LRC and 6WHK picking it up. Well, I didn't do a heck of a lot today. Had a medical day. Done a stress test and things, and that kind of got to me. I'm running the Swan 350 Delta through a Marathon amplifier up to a coaxial antenna. Got the design from George. YEC, which had the third check-in. So that's the situation here. Back to net control, November 6th, Whiskey Hotel Kilo.
Okay, Phil, thanks. N6WHB and the rest of the guys, WJ6W. Yeah, okay. Very good. Ron, K2RP, you sound very good here. You know, I'd appreciate any comments on my audio here, too, on the Drake. I don't run it too often, and really haven't had any comments that I remember on how it sounds. I imagine it sounds like the Drake, but anyway, I appreciate any comments, too. But you sound good, Ron. And Glenn, very good on the Air Museum. Work today, and Phil, stress test. Boy, I haven't had one of those in years. Those knocked me out. I remember they push you to your limit, I guess, depending on your age. But I bet you're glad that's over. So I got George YEC on the list. Anybody else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable, come now.
W6WUH.
November 6th, Alpha Foxtrot. Good evening.
W6WUH.
Okay, Larry, I got you. I didn't look at the S-meter with your new antenna, but you sounded okay here. And N6AF. Anybody else? Yeah, Ed, KG6UTS. I got you there. Are you copying me? Give me a little response there if you're copying okay, Ed. Over. Yeah, okay, Ed. Yeah, you're kind of weak here. I'm up in LA and I'm taking the earlies. I'm not net control. Net control tonight is JNY6L. He's our host tonight. And Ed, I heard you earlier, so actually you're number one on the list. So stand by for that. Okay. Let me check again for anyone who wants to get on the early list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable come out. Okay, let's move along and let four more here say hello for the evening. Vaughn, my neighbor, K6NTA. Vaughn, your turn. And then George, W8 Victor Golf. You know, I didn't recognize your voice on sideband. I'm not used to hearing it there on sideband. And then if you'll turn it over to N4DLA, that's Matthew, and Matthew to W7MF Mike, and then back to me. So K6NTA, Vaughn, go ahead.
Okay, Dave, thanks. Yeah, WJ6W from K6ZTA. All right, we're running the usual 100V tonight, driving the SB220, and things were just absolutely beautiful today. Of course, you saw it too. The weather was gorgeous, and it's kind of hard to believe that this rangy storm coming. Supposed to start raining again tomorrow. It's supposed to start raining tomorrow, and then keep going and keep raining for 2 or 3 days. I don't know. We'll see what the weather person says on the old tube. So, in the meantime, George, why don't you take a W8 Victor Golf K6ZTA?
Very good, Vaughn. K6ZTA, let's make sure we got, there we go, got a little bit of audio here. Here is W8 Victor Golf, George, down here in Oro Valley, Arizona, about 10 miles north of Tucson. Haven't been in here for probably in a year or two, and it's been a long time since I've had these Drakes on. I'm running a Drake Twins, but a B-line here, R4B and T4XB. They're not my originals. I had a set back in the 70s and traded up for a C-line and got rid of that in 92, and I picked these up about 5 years ago, went all through them, so I think they're working. Little drifty, but they've been on long enough to be stabilized. Running a
into my original SB220 from 1973. I built it when I was a senior in high school when the Watergate hearings were going on. It's got the original tubes in it. And Dave, yeah, I guess I don't have all the lows. I'm using a 444 here, which is probably equalized more for sideband, yeah. But good deal. And let's see, what have I been doing? I'm working on a 1930 station here, real simple station. It's a Utah Junior transmitter for CW, single 6L6, and I picked up an SX18 from Ron, my neighbor over here, K0ETD. So we've been working on that, getting it on there, and I think it's going to work. We've yet to make any contacts though with this receiver. But I've been working on that. Anyways, it'll be fun to get in here this evening. I haven't been in here in a while. Let me kick it over to Matthew, N4DLA to take it, W8 Victor Golf.
Okay, thank you, George. W8 Victor Golf and the earlies on the Vintage Sideband Roundtable from Matthew, N4DLA in Orinda, California, and Ron, K2RP, or HW12 is about 5758 up here in Northern California, sounding great. I have an HW12, need to get a better microphone for us, so maybe we can have an HW12 to HW12 QSO sometime on 75. That's the only band it works on. And Dave, WJ6W, Drake twins are sounding good. It sounds like it's Drake night. There's got George's Beeline on there sounding good too. So over to Mike, W7MS in Nevada from N4DLA, Orinda.
Well, thank you, Matthew. N4DLA and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable pre-net edition, W7MS, Mike in Reno. And Matthew, yeah, 15 over S9, so good signal this evening from you and all the other folks here on frequency. And I heard Larry from Occidental. I guess he's back, and he sounds 100% from a signal level standpoint. So hello to he. And I'll be changing rigs. I wasn't quite sure about my investment here in the net tonight, but conditions are good, and we've got a pre-net and a net controller. So congratulations, Jay. Tag, you're it. And so we'll be shutting down the Rockwell Collins HF380 and my home-built, home-engineered linear with the Soviet GU84B throttle back to 1,000 watts because we don't want to have any issues tonight with somebody. But we'll be changing radios here now that I've had my 30 seconds of fame. So back to you, Dave and Tarzana, and I've been following the crime news there from one of your neighbors, WJ6W, W7MS.
Oh yeah, Mike. I tell you, absolutely. One of my neighbors, I couldn't believe it. It's actually 5 houses away from us where the triple murder, the alleged triple murder took place. They found one body, which they still haven't identified by DNA, and 2 other people missing. Yeah, exciting times in Tarzana here. Unbelievable. There's a lot to that story. I could probably go on for the net. It's a lot developing here. Anyway, your HF380 is doing great, and good to hear you in there. Good signal. Hot Water 12 from Matthew. I hear you just fine tonight, Matthew. Very good. And George, well, our sister Drake's here are sounding good. You sound just fine. And, yeah, you know, the better fidelity with AM, but it's fun to run these rigs too, isn't it? So, and Vaughn, your 100B is sounding very nice over here, and it was a beautiful day. I was out for a little bit today and really enjoyed it, and we probably won't be out doing too much for a few days with a big rainstorm coming in. So let me check to see if there's anyone else who wants to get on the list for the Vintage Sideband Roundtable. Come now.
K6 little green light. K6 Dave and others.
W86GUS. W89JIB.
Okay, I got Skip, K6LGO, I got you, and then John, WA6JUS, and WA9JIB, let's see. Yeah, anybody else? Okay, that's it for the moment. Where did I leave off? Oh, next we have, let's see, we're getting about 10 to 7, so we'll go a little longer here before we turn it over to Jay. Let's see, Jeff, you're next, KK6IRZ, and I sure thank you for working with Wayne's transmitter this afternoon and helping out. I think Wayne's AM transmitter is very operable now, and I think he and Sharon are hosting the AM net tomorrow, and it should sound pretty good. So thanks for that, Jeff. That was a long day with you and Steve, KF6SYD, putting up the new antenna, working on the transmitter, and all that stuff. Anyway, Jeff, if you turn it over to Frank K6FEW, and then to W6YEC George, and then to Larry, W6WUH, I'm anxious to check the S meter when you're on, Larry. So over to you, Jeff, KK6IRZ, WJ6W.
Okay, very good. WJ6W with the group. This is KK6IRZ. Jeff in Chino, California, just running barefoot with the ICOM 735. Not quite vintage, but early 80s-ish. Just over the line. And, it was a blast down there today, actually. I had a really good time visiting with Wayne, and Steve really did all the hard work. He went up the tower, I want to say 2 or 3 times. All I did was play with the radio a little bit, so I think there's a little bit more to do if he wants to have it totally right, but definitely I think it was acceptable for the time being, and of course you were listening, so you would know much more than I, but on the stuff I was looking at, it looked like it was doing okay for what it was doing at the moment. And then when I left, he had an extra. Oh God, my dog does this every time I start talking on the radio. Get out! He loves to play with a plastic bottle right in the doorway of the ham shack. I don't know why he does that every time I start talking. It's becoming a habit, and I don't like it. And I don't always want to have the door shut. But in any case, when I left, Wayne had a 5500 spare tube that he let me take with me, and I told him I'd do the testing here in my homebrew because it's very easy to test 5500s, 4400s, 4250s, whatever. Very easy to do in my transmitter, and it looks like it's a good tube. So let bring in a little bit with filaments and fired it up into the dummy load, and it seems to be okay fine. I'll turn it in a little bit more before I get it back to him, but it does look like you said at least one good tube is a spare. And we can always check the other ones and cherry pick the 4 or try to match a couple for the modulators or whatever. We can do something like that. But yeah, it was fun. The antenna went up pretty nice. A little bit of trimming, clip. Got it to got the SWR to come in, and then played with the transmitter a little bit and dialed that in for him. It was just a very, very fun day. And I'm still not done playing yet, because like I say, I'm testing the 5500, so after this I'll probably go down and mellow out a couple of CQs on AM and see how this thing runs. So not too much more beyond that. I guess I'll send it over to you. I wanted to say the Hot Water 12 was doing a nice job. Yes, indeed. The Hot Water 12 was doing an excellent job. And good evening, Jen. And Cheryl and Glenn and oh my goodness, George, everybody on there. I don't think I'm going to be hanging around for the net because my wife's new job is a pick up at 7 o'clock situation. I don't know how that's going to work out with all the nets and everything, but it seems that currently my Uber time for picking up the wife is to be waiting at the doorway at 7 o'clock, so I'm probably going to have to jump right out of here and run. But I'll try to be back in
K6FEW here, Frank, Foxtrot Echo Whiskey. Thanks, Jeff. Everybody's coming in here great tonight, Reno and SoCal, everybody. So the band is cooperating. We're on the old CE20A here, trying to get a little oomph out of it with the L-Craft KPA 100. So hopefully it's getting out all right, and I'll turn it over to George, WV6YEC, K6FEW.
You're on, Cousin George.
Okay, Frank. Sorry, I was slow getting to the microphone. I got 3 mics sitting in front of me, so it's a little easy to grab the wrong one. Anyway, everybody's sounding terrific. Thanks, Dave, for taking the earlies here. Looks like we got a big list growing. And looking forward to Jay running the net tonight. See what kind of a question he comes up with. Anyway, let's see. Jeff, thanks for helping Wayne out. You and Steve. Sounds like you had a great day over there. And anyway, that's pretty good. You're able to check out the 5-500 with the homebrew. I used to do that too for a friend of mine with my homebrew amplifier. I check out 4-400, and he had a source. He gave me 4-400, so bring them over and put them in the homebrew 4-400 amp, and that worked out pretty good. I gave that amp away because I knew I was probably not going to do anything with it in the future. Anyway, looking forward to a good night. Running the TF520 Sugar here tonight, and the 30L1 amp is a combination for one of my favorite vintage stations. So with that, let's see. Dave, I'm not sure if it goes back to you, maybe? WJ6W, W6YEC.
Okay, George, thanks. No, we wanted to pick up Larry next. W6WUH, go ahead.
Alrighty, Dave. Thank you. Hearing everybody really nicely tonight. Very strong signals. I don't know if it's the antenna being raised up or if the band's in very good shape, but anyway, hearing everybody just fine. So I don't know, same old antenna, but I think it's maybe changed direction about 10 degrees. Further to the north, it was pretty much dead northwest, southeast, and now it's a little bit more northerly, but the feed point is now up about 40 feet or so off of the ground instead of about 12, and the average height somewhere between 40 and 50 feet. So that's the story here. Good to hear everybody. Looking forward to Jay running the net tonight, and of course finding out what the question will be. Thanks for taking the early Dave. WJ6W, W6WUH, and this is the Swan SS200 as usual.
Okay, Larry, very good. Well, you're running old geeky pen over here, so very good into Southern California. I don't remember how well you did otherwise, but possibly it's better. And let's see, anxious to hear how it does on 40 when you run the swap net next time. So very good. All right, well, we're getting close to the hour. Let me check for any other late early check-ins. Come now.
Kilo Whiskey 1, November Golf.
KW1NG, anybody else? Okay, with that, let's see if Jay's around, and I'll be ready to pass the list to you, Jay, and then you can take the net. Jay, are you ready?
I'm ready as best as I can there, Dave. Thank you for getting the early check-ins, and hopefully I'm being heard. And hello to Larry there. Excuse me. And your new antenna sounding really good down here in Hesperia. So, all right, Dave. Well, I guess we'll get started. And I don't have the preamble for the vintage sideband Well, I'll just do my best. Anyway, Dave, back to you, NY6L.
Okay, Jay, I'll give you the list here, and we'll get started. So you're doing, as an S meter report, you're doing 30 over down here. So doing really fine as usual. So the first station I have on the list is KG6UTS. That's Ed in the San Diego area, and he was weak here. But you probably copy him okay. That's KG6UTS. And then it goes to Ron, K2RP. K2RP. Then WB6RLC. That's Glenn. WB6RLC. And then N6WHK, Phil. N6WHK. And then it goes to, just a second here, it goes to N6ZTA. That's Bond, N6ZTA. Then W8 Victor Golf, George out in Arizona, W8VG. And then N4 DLA, Matthew, N4 DLA. How are we doing so far?
Okay, I got I missed the name for W8VG.
That's George, okay?
Got it, and then I got I'm left with N4 DLA. What's the name of that call sign?
That's Matthew. Okay, I'll continue on, all right?
Roger, ready to copy.
Okay, next we have W7MS, Mike. W7MS. And then KK6IRZ is a maybe. He might be in later. KK6IRZ, Jeff. KK6IRZ. Then from there we go to K6FEW, Frank. K6FEW, Frank. And then to W6YEC, George. W6YEC. And then we go to Larry, W6WUH, Larry. Up north, W6WUH. And then to N6AF, Charles. Chuck or Charles, I can't remember. N6AF. And then to K6LGL, Skip. K6LGL. And then WA6JUS, John. WA6JUS. And then WA9JIB, Bob. WA9JIB. And then to KW1NG, I know I should know the name, and I will as soon as I stop transmitting. KW1NG. And NJ, put me in there somewhere along the list, if you would, WJ6W. So back to you, Jay, NY6L, WJ6W.
Boy, I almost have a writer's cramp. Okay. All right, Dave. Got you there in the bottom here. And hopefully this gravelly voice will hold up. Okay. All right, then. Well, good evening to all. This is JNY6L. I'm your host and at control here for the vintage single sideband net. Starts at roughly about 7 o'clock on 3895. And let's see here. I don't have a preamble, so I'll just go ahead and I picked a question here. See if this goes for tonight. And the question for tonight that I thought of is, what is your favorite or rare vintage sideband rig? What is your favorite or rare vintage SSB rig? So that's going to be the question for tonight. All right. Let's see here. hopefully the alligators won't bite. And all right, so we'll go ahead and we'll try with a group of 3. Let's keep it at roughly no more than 2 minutes. So I'll give Ed KG6UTS to pick it up, then give it over to Ron K2RP, and then over to Glenn WB6RLC, and then give it back to me. All right, Ed, you're first runner-up, KG6UTS. Go ahead and pick it up, Ed, NY6L. K2RP, you're next.
Okay, I'm not copying at all. Thanks for taking the net, and Dave, thanks for doing the early. Well, today there's a little confusion in my mind. He's talking about rigs that we own now, or just something we'd like to have. But in any case, I'm going to give you the one that my rarest one is the BMW 6100, which came out in about 1950, or 61 rather, 61, and it was the first synthesized ham rig. It has no free-running oscillators. Everything's crystal controlled. There's about 40 some odd crystals in it, and I was lucky to find one at an estate sale. They only made 200 of them, and there's a registry that somebody keeps. There's about 40 known ones in existence, so I don't think they get too much rarer than that, and I use it quite commonly on this net. As a matter of fact, I want to try to use something I haven't used for a while. I'm on the HW12 tonight, but I'm looking right at that BMW 6100, which is the rarest favorite that I've got. Okay, over to Glenn out there in the desert, WB6RLC K2RP.
Very good, Ron. K2RP, WB6RLC, and D Group. Everybody is sounding pretty good. The guy down in where it was down there in San Borrego, San Diego area, he was a little bit weak, but everybody else has been doing good Q5 copy. Glenn here, Cathedral City, next burg over from Palm Springs, etc. Rig tonight's the National NCX5 barefoot. Sure 444 mic up to an off-center fed dipole at 32 feet. So let's see. Actually, my favorite is the one that you probably hear the most. My Swan 400. It's relatively rare. They only made 1,100 of them, so it's relatively rare. And I like it. It's a good, dependable radio, knock wood, and gets me on the air. It's kind of unique. It's kind of a 3-piece radio. It's got the main transceiver itself, but the transceiver does not have a VFO built in. You're required to buy a external VFO for it and an external power supply. So you know, it takes up a chunk of desk space. But, yeah, it's, like I said, it's fairly rare, but it sure does the job. It gets out, it gives me good signal reports. So, you know, that's probably my favorite. May have some other things that are lower production numbers, but that's my favorite. Okay, Jay, back over to you. NY6L, WB6RLC, great signal in here tonight, Jay. It's, you're like 20 to maybe 30 over sometimes. So, anyway, back to you, over to you, Jay. NY6L, WB6RLC in the group.
All right, very good, Glenn. Yeah, you're booming up here in the high desert. Solid 20 over S9. Your audio's a little bit compressed, but very readable. All right, very good. Okay, the next group of three will be Phil, N6WHK. Phil, please give it to Vaughn, N6ZTA. Then Vaughn, please give it to George, W8 Victor Golf, and then George, give it back to me. Go ahead, Phil. NY6L.
NY6L, thank you very much. It's November 6th, Whiskey Hotel Kilo. You're loud, clear, and distinct here into San Diego. No problem, copy it all. My favorite rig, it's not a real old one, is a Heathkit HW12. It's my first vintage style radio I've ever owned, and I like it very well. I got it here in San Diego, and it just seems to work. I had a little problem one time with it, and I just pulled the tubes and reseated them, and it's been working ever since. I guess I should be using it a little more than I do. Anyway, that's my favorite rig of all the Heathkits, the Swans, the Hammerlands, and the Vikings. That's the one I like, I think, the best. So with that, I'm going to turn over. N6ZTA.
There you go.
That don't sound right. N6WHK.
Yeah, N6WHK, K6ZTA. All right. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, sounds good. All the signals are sounding great tonight. My channel is Vaughn, Victor Oscar November, here in Woodland Hills. And my rig is 100V, and that's my rarest favorite. So that was a quickie. And I'm driving the SSB 220 with the 100V and kicking up at about, let's see, yeah, that looks like kicking it up here at about 1,000 watts peak. So we're holding our own here on the frequency, I think. And let's see, I wanted to say, I don't think I'm going to be going to the swap meet in Claremont because the weather is so iffy for Saturday, and I don't relish the idea of moseying around in the rain there. So I'll wait for January and hopefully for better weather, and try to plan on the Claremont swap meet. Now that Bob, that was for you. I don't know if you had still planned to go with me, but I'm not going to go. So we'll have to back that out right now and do it another time. In fact, January, I hope you can go with me. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to George. W8VG, K6ZTA, and the Tuesday night Vintage Sideband Roundtable.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Vaughn. K6ZTA. And the group here, this is George, W8 Victor Golf, down here just north of Tucson. And I'm hearing everybody pretty good on the old Drake R4B tonight. And signals are quite good down here. Of course, I'm probably at the edge of the a little bit at the edge of the footprint there, maybe, but hearing everybody. And let's see, favorite rare vintage sideband rig. Well, my favorite stuff is obviously the Drakes. I grew up in southern Ohio on the east side of Cincinnati, and the Drake plant was about, about 45 minutes up the freeway, up 71. And that was Drake country. A lot of folks were into it. I had the privilege of going through the plant in 1971. They invited our high school radio club up there and took us through the place. Got to see everything except the engineering department. They wouldn't let us in there. But I think I saw beelines being made, as I recall. But that was Drool City for a high school freshman. This stuff was way out of reach for me in those days, although I always wanted it. Probably the most uncommon thing I've used was at work. I operated quite a bit some ITT McKay Marine MSR 8000s, which is more of a commercial military transceiver, but quite a good one. It was, for its time, synthesized and very rugged. And have seen a few on the amateur bands, not too many though. Let's see, Jay, good job on the net. Copy you loud and clear. Jay, we actually met years and years ago when I lived in Fullerton. I went out to a military radio collectors group meeting at Fort MacArthur and met you, chatted with you over 10 years ago, but you probably don't remember me, but we have met before. Anyways, let me keep her moving. I'm going to I'm at the end here. I'm going to turn it back to you, Jay. NY6L, W8 Victor Golf.
Comment, Jay?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Okay, sorry. I had this written down. Usually the net control is for the announcements of interest, and I had one. I know you haven't done this before, so you're going by the seat of your pants. This Friday and Saturday in Carlsbad is the radio club auction and swap meets and whatever. I can't think of the name of the place, but if you come down Route 5, take the Palomar Airport Road exit east, and turn right at the first light on the right-hand side, the big restaurant. And they have a very big, with the weather, I don't know what's going to happen, but there's a large swap meet, a lot of ham radio here, and a nice time. So if anybody wants to go this Saturday, this Friday and Saturday, you'll probably see me around. Thank you.
Okay, very good there, Ron. Well said. And also, I guess I'll have to get a crib sheet made up next time, but my apologies that I didn't say announcements at the beginning. Okay, also, I guess I might as well take a break here and make an announcement, too, that rain or shine, Granite Creek Church in Claremont is going to have the Claremont Swap Meet, the last one for this year, because December is the church is going to have their Christmas festivities in the parking lot, and so the next Claremont Swap Meet will be starting up again on the third Saturday in January. So come one, come all. Glad to have you out there. And while I'm also pausing here, are there any late or anybody else wants to join the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net? Come to NY6L. Okay. Hearing none. Okay, the next three will be N4 DLA. Matthew, please give it to Mike, W7MS. And then Mike, give it to Jeff, KK6IRZ, but we'll see if he gets back in time. So Go ahead, Matthew, and pick it up. NY6L net control for the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net. Take it away, Matt.
Okay, thank you very much. NY6L in the net from Matthew N4DLA in Orinda, California, about 15 miles east of San Francisco, running a Atlas 210X, 100 watts, straight feeding a 75-meter dipole sloping down from 60 feet with a Shure 444 microphone and K2RP. Your HW12 sounds great up here, about a 5758, and WJ6W, your Drakes are sounding 59 plus up here. So a lot of great signals from everybody tonight, except for KG6 UTS. I could not copy it all up here, sorry. And Larry W6WUH, you're usually loud up here, but you're louder, so you're about 20 over now instead of 10 over. So congratulations on getting that new antenna up. Favorite radio that I never had or wanted to own since I'm from the solid state generation, I'll go with the Signal 1 Mil-Spec 1030, which I believe was their last amateur radio offering around 1981. And it was HF transceiver. It was very sophisticated military spec living up to that, so I don't know what it cost, but I couldn't afford it. I guess its main competition was the KWM 380 from Collins, which I was lucky to use at college at what's now AA4 Victor Uniform in Nashville, Tennessee. But I know Ronnie Millsap, WB4KTR, he went and picked up Signal 1 HF transceivers. I don't know if he got this one or not from the store Amateur Radio Supply of Nashville, or Arson, they like to call themselves. So that's it. So the Mil-Spec 1030, that would be something. Although I'm all 10 tech here, other than this Atlas for solid state. So I do working on a Heathkit HW12. Just got to get the right microphone to keep the audio happy on it. So hopefully we can premiere that very soon. Okay, over to Mike in Nevada, W7MS. And the Vintage Sideband Roundtable from N4DLA. You're in the...
Well, thank you, Matthew. W7MS, Mike in Reno. Great reception from all except for that number one. The station in San Diego has been noted by other folks on frequency. But, Jay, your S9 plus 20 consistently since the pre-net handoff doing quite well. And maybe you need to repeat the question of the evening here. I think we're going off topic, but I'm going to try to stay on topic, but what the heck, maybe I'll go off myself. But this evening running the some Collins gear, 32S3A transmitter, 75S3C receiver. That's, of course, coupled up to a 30S1 amplifier running about 1,200 watts out. Microphones, Collins commercial mic, an M70, basically rebadged from a Turner product. They're also coincidentally manufactured in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Antennas, the usual coax-fed dipole cut for in and about this frequency. And I'm gonna say that my favorite in-house, or I wouldn't know, it's not favorite. No, we don't want to do that. But my rarest radio in my pile of junk here is a National, the 1000, the NCX 1000, which there are a few out there, and of course a problematic radio designed and built towards the end of the existence of the National Radio Company, and I like to equate it to a muscle car, also in the late 60s. It's great in the straightaways, but it's a little has some issues in the tight curves from a handling standpoint. That's probably my critique of the National NCX 1000. Also for George there in Arizona, I happen to own two MSR 8000s, one in gray, one in olive drab. And the olive drab version of the the gray version of the MSR 8000 is also made it to the MSR 8020 amplifier too. So we do run those, but they're at least they're a little too new for this net. But with that, let's see if Jeff's back from his commitments. KK6IRZ W7MS. Well, nothing heard, so I think it's to you, Jay.
Okay, very good. Well, we'll get back with Jeff. He said probably get back by about 20 after, but of course traffic and family things. Okay, well, let me go ahead and take a break here and see if there's anybody else. Late check-ins for the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net. Come to Jay, NY6L Net Control. Okay, hearing none. Well, I guess I'll jump in here. I'll include myself into this in the question that I picked. My favorite vintage sideband transceiver with a rare Atlas Model 206. They call it the oscillator. Well, basically it's a external VFO with a built-in frequency counter, which is independent of the Atlas 210 or 215X, and of course it plugs in the back of the rig, so you could use it as a frequency counter with the internal VFO, or a frequency counter with the external VFO, and you can do splits with it too as well. So very unique piece of equipment. So, all right. Well, let's move to the next trade here. All right, we'll go with Frank, K6FEW. Frank, please give it to George, W6YEC. And George, please give it to Larry, W6WH. And good evening, Larry. Good to hear you. So with that, Frank, pick it up. NY6L. Jay here for the net control for the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net. Take it away, Frank.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. K6FEW here. Thanks for doing the net, Jay, and thanks to Dave for doing the early check-ins. Yeah, that's a tough question. I got sort of fascinated by the CE20As. This is my second one, and the other one I really like that's rare is the Technical Materials Corporation, TMC. They did a rig called the SBE2, which is a triple conversion phasing rig, which talk about doing it the hard way. At any rate, I've really enjoyed working with those things, and someday I'd like to get 100V like Vaughn's, but I think that's a little above my technical grade at the moment, so I'm sticking with the CE20A for now. So everybody's doing great, and thanks for doing the net and the check-ins, and let's see, I'll hand it over to George, W6YEC, K6FEW. Go ahead.
Okay, Frank, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, W6YEC. And Jay, doing a good job. Thanks a lot for running the net tonight. I know you enjoy doing it. And we're running, my favorite rig is the rig I'm running, the Kenwood TS520 Sugar, driving a 30L1. That's my favorite vintage. And I'll tell you the reason why is that when I was much younger, I really wanted one of these radios. And I found that somebody was advertising on the 6.4 machine down here, but he lived up in L.A. And Bernie, very famous ham, who was in a video about ham radio made in 1975. And Bernie had this for sale and met me at the LAX airport, and I picked it up from him, and had the digital display, and just a fantastic radio, TS520. And over the years, I've just always thought they were just so good looking and so easy to operate, and always sounded pretty good. So in this one, I've got hooked up to the SM220 scope, and I had to change the pan adapter in it. I got that from John, K6KOI, the pan adapter that was set to the frequency of the 520. What was in the scope was the one that operated the 820. They used a different IF frequency. Anyway, that's my favorite station. I usually put it on the air on Tuesday night. So there you go, Jay. Back to you. No, am I supposed to turn it to Larry? I turn it back to you. I'm sorry. W6WUH. I think I give it to Larry. Go ahead, Larry. W6YEC.
Okay, George. W6YEC in the group, W6WUH. I don't know how to answer this question. I really don't. It seems like for decades and decades, as long as I've had sideband radios, which is certainly not forever, there's always been a sugar baker or a hot water transceiver here. And almost always was an Atlas transceiver here. 180, 210, 215. There's always been an SPE 33. So I like the simple radios, like the SPE and the Atlas. And I like radios with PTOs. So I think if I ever got one of the little Pentex, which are simple and have a PTO, that might be my favorite radio, but I haven't had one. So that's all I can say. There's so many radios I never had that never will have, and I can't even comment on them. Back to you, Jay, NY6L, W6WUH.
Okay, Larry, very good. And by the way, your signal over here into Hesperia, you're doing up to times at 10 over S9. Very good audio, and doing a very good job there with after you put your antenna back up. Good deal there. All right, let's go for the next three here. Charles, N6AF, please give it to Skip, K6LGL. Skip, please give it to John, WA6JUS. And John, when you're done, please give it back to me, NY6L. Go ahead, Charles.
All right, very good. Hey, save a little energy. If you want to call me Chuck, that's fine. But very good. Good evening from Emerald Hills, Redwood City, N6AF. And let's see, I'll just get right to it. I can tell you what I'm running and answer the question. I'm on my 1963 KWM2. Now I have two favorite vintage sideband rigs. One of them is just a transmitter. And they're favorites because I call them my reminiscent radios. The KWM2 reminds me of my wonderful Elmer, Phil Frazier, W6AFI. He was my Elmer back in 1971. He gave me my novice test at his house, and really interesting guy. He was a nuclear physicist that worked at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and he had we would go up there, the high school club would go up there on maybe once a month on a Friday night, when most kids were out running around town, and we'd all go over to Phil's house and drool over his S-line and his multiple towers and monoband beams. He was an absolute avid DXer and did very well at it. So we all looked at the Collins equipment there in his beautiful shack, And I remember one evening when he says, hey, Chuck, take a look at this. And I remember him opening the top, the lid of the KWM2 and showing me the chain drive of the inductor tuning. And I just thought that was so cool. So it only took me 50 years to get one of these. So in 2021, I got my very own KWM2. The second reminiscent radio is sitting here right next to the KWM2. It's an HT37. And that the neat memory on that one is that I met a guy in high school, a guy by the name of Steve, that had just gotten his novice ticket. And we'd go home from school, and he lived several miles from me, and we'd get on 40 meters. So he says, come on over to my house, and I'll show you my setup. And I went over there, and he says, now let me show you something really neat other than this crystal-controlled Viking adventure. Let's sneak into my brother's bedroom. So we went in there, and wow, look at this thing. There was the HT37, and we were looking at the function knob and trying to figure out what LSB stood for. I mean, it was quite fascinating, and that big VFO. So I've got one of those here as well. So that's my answer. But they're both they both qualify because they're excellent performers. I love the phasing method, smooth audio in the HT37. But I think I would have to give the blue ribbon to the KWM2 because that's my first great memory in ham radio. K6LGL to take it, N6AF.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. N6AF and the Vintage Sideband Roundtable Net, K6LGL. First of all, thank you, Jerry. And then Hesperia NY6L for being at the helm and doing a great job. And this is Skip. I'm in Santa Monica by the Bay here. I'm running one of my favorite radios, but that's the one that I love to operate is the 902DM. And that's a little amplifier with a pair of 572B, so about a half a kilowatt or so. But from the viewpoint all of that, I think Glenn mentioned that he likes the 400 series of Swans. I like the Swan Twins, the 600S and the 600T, the transmitter and receiver, because I think Swan went a little bit extra. And in terms of performance and having two separate units, it's one of the more interesting Swans. And then, of course, if you want to talk the later stuff, that's something else. But that's in tube. Now, in the hybrid, the favorite is 902DM because it's the culmination of, Yasser started the FT101 series, and it took him about 11 years or more. And the final version, before they went all solid state, and they came up with the 902DM. And it has all the features, including 160 meters, FM, it has a 12-volt driven power supply, a nice keyer, and, awful lot, and built like a brick, you-know-what. So practically to operate, it's one of my favorite radios. So there you go. I don't know. Next goes to John there, WA6JUS. John, good to hear you in there, and good evening to all. And thanks for being with the net. So WA6JUS and the group K6LGL.
K6LGL, WA6JUS. Thank you, Skip. Always good to hear you on. And I happen to be partial to this old Galaxy 300, the Miracle rig, which should have died many times, just like a cat would die in life. When I got all this from the original Naval Electronics Lab, there was a box of these wafers for the phenomenon system. And it was the identical pattern of switches to the ones in this radio, which were not functional. And when I changed out the 5-element band switch, it said it would work. And then KT6PLA run 6 brought it back to life. He and I are trying to see if on the Midway they will make an arrangement for us to go on board and bring up the old Collins AR-16 project that we got working, but then the project dead-ended. But they wanted it again. But anyway, the old Galaxy 300 warms my heart. That's J, NY6L, WA6JUS.
Okay, very good, John. Good evening to you. And Skip and Charles, very interesting story there about your KWM2. Very interesting. Okay, before I continue with the last three, is there anybody else wants to join or late check-ins for the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net? Come to NY6L. Okay, hearing none. Bob, you're next, WA9GAIB. Bob, give it to KW1NG. I don't have a name written down here. And last would be Dave, WJ6W. And the question of the evening is what is your favorite or rare vintage sideband rig? Your favorite or rare. Okay, over to you there, Bob. Pick it up, WA9JIB, NY6L, net control.
Okay, Jay, NY6L, doing a great job. WA9JIB, Bob over here in La Cañada. And let's see, a couple comments. Jay, you are booming in. Let's see, Vaughn, yeah, I was kind of thinking we'd go, but on the other hand, if we don't, it's okay too, because I don't mind sleeping in a little bit. And I got a music practice Saturday night. So, yeah, the rain may be on its way. In fact, along those lines, I spent a bunch of time today, other than when I wasn't working, cleaning gutters. I figured I'd better get it done and get the loose parts nailed back up there. So, I did a whole bunch of that, and it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But fortunately, I had a shop vac I borrowed from a neighbor with a long hose, so that made it a lot easier than scraping everything out. And, so, yeah, I don't want to get a lot of El Nino stuff in there with, we actually fill a whole trash barrel. So that stuff's heavy. So that was like a lot of dirt and leaves, pine needles, so I was going to just get it out of there. I got a little more to do on one side of the house. I just ran out of daylight. Probably take me 20 minutes. Maybe tomorrow, if it's not raining tomorrow. Anyway, so yeah, the rain, got to deal with it. The other thing, I think I learned from Matthew that Ronnie Millsap is a ham. I don't know that. I didn't know that, or if I did, I forgot it. He wrote before one of my favorite country songs, Smoky Mountain Rain. So how about that? Anyway, back to the ham radio stuff. I'm running the MC50 mic from Kenwood into my Hallicrafters HD32B, paired with its mate, the SX115, go through a MFJ tuner I got from K2RP, on up to my inverted V dipole hanging off the 35-foot mast. Everybody's coming in real nice on the SX115 and the R48 speaker, and this is my favorite and kind of rare vintage sideband rig. I too am very fond of the HD37, which I have one, because I used it as a kid and had so much fun with it. But even then, I drooled over the 32B and the 115. And I finally got them a few years ago, and they are just such classy implementations of the amateur radio art. They're just so beautiful. And I do like big radios. I like the ones that came after this, the 44 and the 117 on this side. I was offered by Dave, and I sure thought about it, but I had no place to put them. So at the moment, these ones are satisfying my urge to have top-of-the-line helicopters. I really love these radios. So anyway, that's my story here, and I will turn it, I think it is, not 100% sure, forgive me if I got that wrong, but KW1, November Golf, WA9JID.
We got you, Jeff. We'll pick you up.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Bob, and thanks for chiming in there, Jeff. We'll get you down here at the bottom of the rotation, I guess. Very good. Interesting question tonight. Well, I went back in my brain archives and thought about a favorite rig, a very rare favorite rig. So I've got that. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but my favorite stuff is the S-Line. I had two Elmers, and they both had S-Lines when I was a kid, a 75 S3, 32 S3. I have the 75 S3C, the 32 S3, 3001. They're all round emblems and feeding with a 444 mic and feeding the long wire through the tuner. And I have to say that I just have drooled over those rigs forever, and finally got the wherewithal just a few years ago to pick up a really nice S-Line from a gentleman out in Pahrump. His name was Steve. I forget his call. But I picked up this S-Line, and it's just beautiful. It's all clean, and it works great, so forth. My favorite rare rig was when I worked at Swan. It was actually cubic then. It turned into cubic, and it was called the Astro C. It was intended to be a military rig, independent sideband, microprocessor controlled, keypad on the front for all controls. It could be remote controlled. It was waterproof. It could operate underwater. It had two mic connectors. Two guys could be talking on the same channel at the same time to another Astro C, and each one of them would get their own audio. It was just a bulletproof rig. It had probably 60 plug-in cards inside in card racks. The synthesizer was designed by Ulrich Rode of Rode & Schwartz. I designed the receiver. Bob Snyder designed the transmitter. Ed Wise designed the power amplifier, and Lee Schwartz designed the processor system. It was in 1980. It was fully microprocessor controlled with remote control capability. So I don't know how much they cost. I don't know how many they built. I don't think they built very many. You can see a picture of one on rigreference.com. You can type in Astro C and you can see one. But it was an incredible rig. So that's my favorite rare rig, because I've only seen one for sale over my years of after I left Cubic there in 1982. So I don't know how many they built. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll pass it to Dave, WJ6W. Take it away, KW1NG.
Okay, Ken, I'm sorry I forgot your name. I knew your last name was Wing because of your call sign, but just escaped my mind. Well, that is a very special rare radio to you, the Astro C. Very interesting. All right. And Bob, I still have those Helicopter radios. I'm not real motivated to part with them, but if you're ever interested again, let me know. Probably be around here at least sometime longer. Anyway, we're running the Drake Twins R-Force to the C-Line, basically, in 3001 tonight. And as far as the radios, well, I'm a Collins guy, born and raised in Iowa near Cedar Rapids. So I love the Collins gear, and I have quite a few of the S-Lines. Of that, my favorite is the KWM2 with the 312B5. But, and I don't have anything terribly rare, but I think one that's semi-rare is the Atlas 210X I have with the base station console. Maybe it's not that rare at all, but I don't really hear many on the air. I know, Jay, you have a 215, and then there's someone else I hear with a 210 occasionally, but since I got it recently and I fixed it. It wasn't working, so I'm enjoying it right now. So that's my story, and I'll send it back to you, Jay, NY6L, WJ6W.
Okay, wow, very interesting stories there, my goodness. All right, and I heard Jeff chiming in there, KK6IRZ, so I'm going to ask, is there anybody else late or missed check-ins to the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net, and net control is JNY6L. Go ahead. Anybody that wants to jump in, go ahead, and if not, Jeff, pick it up.
Okay, well, I didn't hear anybody, so I guess I'll grab it. Yeah, just got back from picking up the wife and all that. I'm assuming the question sounds like, what is the rarest old vintage sideband rig you've had, or what was your favorite? What was the actual question, Jay?
Jeff, the question is, what is your favorite or rare vintage single sideband rig? Jeff, go ahead.
That's interesting because I'm not really a sideband guy, but I have had sideband rigs over the course of the years, which I used mostly on AM, but when I did use them on sideband, it was still fun. But I want to say that I don't know how rare it really is, but I had a National NCX 500, I think it was, at one time, which I don't hear anybody ever talking about. Anytime the words national come out, it's always about receivers and stuff. So I'm not really sure how rare it was, but that was a fun rig. And I probably did the most sidebanding operation I did was probably very in the early days of my ham radio lifestyle, and that was mostly up on 10 meters. And I had this clear channel AR 3500, which was just a 100-watt model, 10-meter model. But man, that thing I used to have so much fun with that thing. And I use it for AM too. It runs into an amp up on 10. But yeah, it was a really fun sideband rig. But that was 30 years ago or so that I had that. And but I'd have to say that my favorite of all rigs was kind of what Bob mentioned, the HT37. The HT37 is a good all-around transmitter. I mean, it's a whole lot of fun. So there you go. I guess that would be that. And good evening to everybody here on the net. I guess I got here right at the tail end, so that's a good thing anyway. And had a real blast of the day here with going down to Wayne's and working with Steve and Wayne and oh boy, who was the other guy? I'm so bad on names. Okay, my bad habit is going to catch up with me on this one because I can't remember who the third guy was. Oh man, I really apologize if you happen to be listening. I'm very, very sorry. My brain is just gone toasty. But in any case, yeah, it was a great time, and like I said, I brought a 5500 back that Wayne wanted to have tested, which I have in the transmitter, and it's been burning in, so probably after this net, I'm going to go fire up on 3870 and let it stretch its legs and see if anybody's around and see how it works. But other than that, not too much. Tinkering around the shack as always, and been enjoying the old homebrew. So I guess I'm at the end of the so back over to you, Jay. NY6L with the group. This is KK6IRZ.
Okay, very good, Jeff. Well, at least you made it back and able to check in. And I haven't had the alligators come and bite my heels yet, but this is my solo run of the vintage single sideband net tonight. So I'm gonna have to develop a crib sheet, and I don't. As I said, I just was asked at the last minute to volunteer, so I said, okay, I might as well jump in there and swim, learn how to swim. Okay, well, a lot of great stories, a lot of great rigs, and I tell you, it's a little bit tough. I'm going to have to offer two cups tonight. The gold cup is going to go to Ken, KW1NG, on that cubic Astro C, the independent sideband transceiver. That sounds very, very interesting and very, very rare. So, and then the silver cup's going to go to Ron, K2RP, on the B&W 6100 synthesized crystal synthesis transmitter, which is not too many of them are made, and I haven't even seen one in person, at least not yet. So over to Ken. Any comments about your gold cup, KW1NG NY6L net control?
Okay, well, thank you, Jay. Very good. Well, like I say, I've only seen one on the used market since I worked there. I left there in 1982, so I know they're very rare. But I do know that they built some, and there is a picture of it on Rig Reference. You can see it. But it was an amazing box. I think in 1980 it probably cost $10,000, so something like that. So hence not too many out there. I believe they did sell some to the military because they were well suited to being field radios for you could run data on one channel and voice on another simultaneously, so you could have an RTTY running and a voice channel running simultaneously on the same radio. So it was just downright cool, and they were bulletproof, and not quite literally, but they were something else. So I am very pleased that it won that. I kind of searched my memory bank to think of what could be a rare sideband rig, and I think that one is. All right. Thank you very much. Turn it back over to you. NY6L KW1NG.
Okay, Ken, very good. Well, you got a gold cup to put on your shelf there. And Ron, K2RP, the silver cup recipient on the B&W 6100. What do you have to say there, Ron? Over?
Oh, I'm very pleased. I have room on the shelf for one more cup, so that fills the spot. As far as seeing one in person, you're always welcome. Come on down. You can operate it, play with it. It's really a remarkable achievement for those years. I wanted to make a comment to Phil, who had his stress test today. I hope everything comes out okay. But it reminded me when I had a stress test, the cardiologist said, have you ever had a stress test before? So I said, well, I once got divorced from a lawyer. Does that count? And he got a laugh out of that. Anyway, thanks for doing a great job tonight.
All right, very good there, Ron. Well, enjoy, and I'll have to one of these days take a look at that 6100. Very interesting. Well, I want to thank everyone who participated, and interesting stories. And as I said, on the fly, I had to figure out what question would be appropriate tonight. And with my gravelly voice a little bit here, I think I survived. So I just want to thank every single one of you that checked in, and I'm going to say good night to all. And if anybody wants to, have after you talk afterwards, after the net, it would be fine. I'll hang around for a little bit. Otherwise, good evening, and thanks again. This is JNY6L, net control for the Tuesday night vintage single sideband net. It'll be closing, and good night. NY6L is clear.